What happened during the 3 days between Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection? This question has puzzled theologians, scholars, and believers for centuries. While the Gospels detail the events leading up to Jesus' death and resurrection, they are notably silent on what occurred during those mysterious 3 days. However, hints and references in other parts of the New Testament have led to a fascinating concept known as the Harrowing of Hell. Could it be that Jesus descended into the underworld to preach to the spirits of the dead? And if so, what was the significance of this event? In this video, we're going to dive deep into this intriguing topic, exploring both scriptural and historical perspectives. We'll start by examining two key biblical passages, 1 Peter 3:19 and Ephesians 4:9, that have sparked significant theological debate over the centuries. These verses provide a glimpse into what might have occurred during those 3 days, but they also raise more questions than answers. Did Jesus truly visit the underworld? What did he do there? And how does this event fit into the larger Christian narrative of salvation and redemption? By the end of this video, we aim to shed light on these questions, offering insights into a profound and often overlooked aspect of Christian theology. Whether you're a believer seeking deeper understanding, or someone curious about the mysteries of the Christian faith, this exploration of the Harrowing of Hell is sure to provide thought-provoking perspectives. To understand the mystery of what Jesus might have done during the 3 days between his death and resurrection, we must first examine the biblical passages that have fueled centuries of theological debate. The two key verses in question are 1 Peter 3:19 and Ephesians 4:9. These passages provide intriguing clues, but they are also open to various interpretations, making them the subject of much scholarly discussion. Let's begin with 1 Peter 3:19, which states, "After being made alive, he went and made a proclamation to the imprisoned spirits." This verse has been traditionally understood by many to suggest that Jesus, after his crucifixion, descended into the underworld, also known as Hades or Hell, to preach to the spirits of those who had died. But who were these imprisoned spirits? Some scholars argue that they were the souls of people who lived before the time of Noah, while others believe they were fallen angels mentioned earlier in 1 Peter. The ambiguity of this verse leaves much room for interpretation, leading to various theological positions within Christianity. Another interpretation suggests that these imprisoned spirits could represent humanity in general, those who were separated from God by sin and death. In this view, Jesus' descent into hell represents his victory over sin and death, bringing the message of salvation to all, even those who had already passed away. This perspective has resonated with many Christians over the centuries, emphasizing the universality of Christ's redemptive work. Next, we turn to Ephesians 4:9, which says, "What does he ascended mean except that he also descended to the lower, earthly regions?" This passage has often been linked to the concept of Jesus' descent into hell, suggesting that before he ascended to heaven, he first descended to the depths of the earth. But what does lower, earthly regions really mean? Some interpretations view this as a reference to the physical grave, while others see it as a metaphor for a spiritual journey into the underworld. This verse, like 1 Peter 3:19, is steeped in mystery and has given rise to different interpretations throughout Christian history. Interestingly, some theologians argue that the lower regions could also be understood as the realm of the dead, in a broader sense, encompassing not just hell, but all places where souls reside after death. This interpretation opens up further questions about the nature of the afterlife and what Jesus' role might have been in those 3 days. Did he simply preach to the dead, or was there a more profound cosmic event taking place, such as the defeat of death itself? The idea of Jesus descending into hell to preach to the spirits ties into a larger Christian narrative known as the Harrowing of Hell. This concept, although not explicitly detailed in the Gospels, is deeply rooted in Christian tradition and has been a topic of interest for theologians for centuries. The Harrowing of Hell suggests that during these 3 days, Jesus not only preached to the spirits, but also liberated the righteous souls who had been held captive by death, leading them to eternal life. Understanding the biblical context of these passages is crucial to unraveling the mystery of what Jesus might have done during those 3 days. Whether viewed as a literal descent into hell or a symbolic act of triumph over death, these scriptures invite us to reflect on the profound and often mysterious aspects of the Christian faith. As we continue our exploration, we'll see how these ideas have shaped Christian thought and what they mean for believers today. The concept of the harrowing of hell is one of the most fascinating and mysterious aspects of Christian theology. Though not explicitly described in the Gospels, this event has been deeply embedded in Christian tradition, particularly in early Christian thought and art. The term harrowing of hell refers to the belief that during the 3 days between his crucifixion and resurrection, Jesus descended into hell or the underworld to rescue the souls of the righteous who had died before his coming. This idea finds its roots in several early Christian writings and creeds, most notably in the Apostles' Creed, which states, "He descended into hell." This statement has been interpreted in various ways throughout Christian history, with some traditions emphasizing a literal descent into a place of torment, while others view it more symbolically as a spiritual victory over death and sin. In early Christian art and literature, the harrowing of hell was depicted as a dramatic and powerful event. Jesus is often portrayed as a triumphant figure, breaking down the gates of hell and leading Adam, Eve, and other righteous figures from the Old Testament out of their captivity. This imagery emphasizes the belief that Christ's death and resurrection were not just about personal salvation, but about a cosmic victory over the forces of evil and death. Theologically, the harrowing of hell represents a key moment in the Christian understanding of salvation history. It suggests that Christ's redemptive work was so powerful that it transcended time, reaching back to those who had lived and died before his earthly ministry. This belief underscores the idea that Jesus' mission was universal, extending salvation to all humanity, regardless of when or where they lived. The significance of the harrowing of hell in Christian thought cannot be overstated. It serves as a reminder of the depth and breadth of Christ's love and the transformative power of his resurrection. For many early Christians, this event was a source of great hope and comfort, affirming that not even death could separate them from the love of God. However, As Christianity evolved, interpretations of the harrowing of hell became more varied. Some theologians began to question the literalness of this event, viewing it instead as a metaphor for Christ's victory over sin and death. Others, particularly in the Eastern Orthodox tradition, continued to emphasize the literal descent of Christ into the underworld, seeing it as a crucial part of the paschal mystery, the celebration of Christ's death and resurrection. Despite these differing views, the harrowing of hell remains an important part of Christian theology and liturgy, particularly during Holy Week. It is a reminder of the mysterious and powerful nature of Christ's work, not only in his life and death, but also in the unseen realms of the afterlife. Whether understood literally or metaphorically, the harrowing of hell challenges us to consider the vast implications of Jesus' death and resurrection for all of humanity. The harrowing of hell is more than just a dramatic event in Christian tradition. It carries profound theological implications that have shaped Christian thought for centuries. Understanding these implications requires exploring how different Christian denominations interpret this event and what it means for their broader theology, particularly concerning salvation and the afterlife. One of the central theological questions raised by the harrowing of hell is, what does this event tell us about the nature of salvation? For many Christians, the idea that Jesus descended into hell to preach to the souls of the dead underscores the universal scope of his redemptive work. It suggests that Jesus' sacrifice on the cross was not limited to the living, but extended to those who had died, offering them the opportunity for salvation. This view is especially prominent in Eastern Orthodox theology, where the harrowing of hell is seen as a key moment in the victory of Christ over death and sin. The Orthodox tradition emphasizes that through this event, Jesus opened the gates of paradise, not just for the righteous dead, but for all who would believe in him. In Western Christianity, particularly within Catholic and Protestant traditions, interpretations of the harrowing of hell have varied. Catholic doctrine, for example, traditionally teaches that Jesus descended into a place called the limbo of the fathers, where the souls of the righteous awaited the Savior. According to this view, the harrowing of hell was a moment of liberation, as Jesus led these souls into heaven. This interpretation highlights the continuity of God's plan of salvation, connecting the Old Testament saints with the new covenant established through Christ's death and resurrection. Protestant interpretations, on the other hand, often differ significantly. Many Protestant theologians reject the idea of a literal descent into hell, viewing the harrowing of hell as more symbolic. For them, the event represents Christ's triumph over the powers of sin, death, and hell, rather than a physical journey to the underworld. This interpretation aligns with a broader Protestant emphasis on the sufficiency of Christ's atonement on the cross for all of humanity, without the need for additional actions in the afterlife. Beyond these doctrinal differences, the harrowing of hell also raises important questions about the nature of hell itself and the afterlife. If Jesus truly descended into hell, what does this say about the nature of that realm? Was it a place of torment, as many later Christian traditions have depicted? Or was it something more akin to the Hebrew concept of Sheol, shadowy place of the dead? These questions have led to diverse interpretations, with some seeing hell as a place of separation from God, while others view it as a temporary state from which Christ's victory can rescue souls. Moreover, the Harrowing of Hell touches on the broader question of who is saved and how. If Jesus preached to the spirits in prison, does this mean that everyone has a chance at salvation, even after death? This idea, while comforting to some, challenges traditional notions of judgment and the finality of death. It has led to discussions about the nature of God's justice and mercy, and whether there is hope for those who did not know Christ in their earthly lives. The theological implications of the Harrowing of Hell are vast and complex, reflecting the richness of Christian thought on the mysteries of salvation, judgment, and the afterlife. Whether viewed as a literal event or a powerful metaphor, the Harrowing of Hell invites Christians to reflect on the depth of Christ's love and the far-reaching effects of his redemptive work. It challenges believers to consider the inclusivity of God's salvation and the profound mysteries that lie beyond the veil of death. As we move toward the conclusion of this exploration, it's clear that the Harrowing of Hell, though shrouded in mystery, continues to be a significant and thought-provoking aspect of Christian theology. Its interpretations may vary, but its impact on Christian understanding of salvation and the afterlife remains profound.